like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome all of our Mission Lakes members that are watching our live feed today. We will try to get through our agenda as quickly as possible, and we are going to have our ballot count today done by our Inspector of Elections and her team towards the end of our agenda, all of which will continue on live feed. So with that call to order, I'd like for us to stand for the pledge, please. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Trish, what do you have to say about our minutes?
Yes, I move to approve the board meeting minutes from April the 25th, the executive session meeting minutes dated April the 6th, April the 21st, April the 25th, and April the 30th.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Mr. Ketchum. Is there any discussion on these further? All in favor? Signify, please. Hold your hands. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, Trish, continue with you on any member comments that we have that we should address today.
Yes, the first one is from Sue Moore Ketchum regarding the plastic fencing around the entrance of the clubhouse.
Okay. Yeah, the question is that been a long conversation about fencing. At that time, plastic fencing was not going to be allowed. I see that it has been allowed. I think it's very distracting along the entrance of the clubhouse. Why was it allowed? Okay, I'm going to take this first question, and then if there's any other comments by board members, they can step up. This fencing was done, I believe, sometime in 2016, and at that time, of course, I wasn't president. We had another president in charge at that time. And we allowed that plastic fencing to go in because it was said to be vinyl and not plastic, which is an error because the actual definition of plastic or the definition of vinyl is plastic. So that installation should not have been done. It was done under another president's overview. What's going to be done about it, I don't know at this point in time. This board has not taken any action to decide if it's going to be left or it needs to be taken out and changed. Our existing bylaws and our new bylaws specifically state that plastic and or vinyl will not be allowed as a fence material.
Yeah. Let me add to that, because you said that it was done during a previous board.
It was.
But it was actually okayed by a previous board. It was just currently installed though, right? This fencing that we're
It's
talking
been there
about.
at least
No, it's been there
4 or
4
5
years, 5 years.
No.
Yes, Tom.
Okay, that came through the ACC committee. The ACC committee has
Oh,
granted 3 vinyl fences to be
I'm sorry.
installed.
Yeah.
I was referring to the
Fencing
MLCC
freeway.
property and not that home. You're talking about that home? Is that the one?
I'm pretty sure Sue is referring to the home.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, Sue.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
sorry, but I'm pretty sure.
If that's the case, then I can address that as well. That was,
If you want to.
I want to, that was a rule that was, well, we'll go ahead and start off.
Okay. Again, 3 of these fences were okayed by the ACC with the board previous to when you took over. The board president was at each ACC meeting, and he obviously didn't object to those vinyl fences going in.
Okay,
And that's how it got there. When this board took over, you made it very clear that vinyl was plastic and there'd be no more. And
You are
that's why
correct.
they're there.
I'm sorry, I thought she was referring to the one around our common areas, but that fence is on a property that was just done. It should not have been put in, and in my opinion, should not have been approved. And now I understand.
And I
Okay,
believe the ACC rules have been changed now that they're not allowed to approve
yeah,
Absolutely.
requests for,
But the old CCNR
yes,
left it up to the ACC.
yeah.
yes.
But the board's now changed it, but those decisions come to the board for decision not a committee decision.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm
Tom.
not sure there's a whole lot that our board can do when a previous board has already okayed something and made a decision, even though it was a time lapse before they actually did it.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
don't,
tough.
I don't see how
agree-
we can.
I agree with you.
I don't see how we
Right.
can require the homeowner to tear it down. Went through a process, the previous president okayed it, we're gonna have to live with that one.
No, maybe there's a way that the split rail fencing can be changed to make it look better with the other one. We might wanna look into that.
You can, as a new board comes into place, you can do that. We can review that, or you can. Won't be me. Okay,
Okay.
what next do we have?
The next email that we received is from Linda Breen, and she would like to ask regarding the bylaws and the CCNRs and then the RFCA's. So if you want to do the bylaws first.
Okay, Linda, thank you for your question. I think when it comes down to your specific questions, you've asked, when was locked ballot box opened, by whom? How many times have the unopened envelopes been counted and by whom? Okay, today at 10 a.m., this ballot box that you see sitting here was brought in from the administrative office. It has been locked since the election started and was taped up at 5 p.m. last night. It was opened this morning at 10 a.m. by our Inspector of Elections, and this was a live feed to our Mission Lakes membership. And at that time, they counted all of the unopened envelopes in there and determined that we had a quorum. I think there was over 450 envelopes. I checked with the Inspector of Elections briefly. Those have been counted, and they opened up to make sure they had the proper signature on that envelope to make certain that we didn't have any property vote more than once. So they did a very close vetting of this, and before our meeting is over today, the election committee is going to come back in, open up that second envelope, and count all the yes or no votes. So I think that pretty well covers that one. So Mr. Doyle, I think you're up about the 20 bids.
You could read it out loud.
She's got a question about some of the RFCA's that we're moving forward on, and she believes that the club is financially challenged and that we should hold expenses down. Actually, our club is in very good financial position. We've had members continue to pay their dues, actually at a rate greater than they have in past months. We've had an aggressive program that this month on collections and AR on old bad debt. Our bad debt is down over $100,000, which represents about a 10% decline. In money we're owed over 120 days. In May, we collected about $25,000 of old money that our aggressive collection actions are, bringing to bear on getting that money in. So financially, we're in a very good position at the club. There's things that we need to do to continue running the club, maintaining the club, and beautifying the club, and we should continue to do that.
Does anyone else have anything to add on those two of our RFCs? One is for the fence and the landscape down at past number 15, and the other one is for over here near the dumpster.
We'll discuss that one, comes up for.
Then that's it for that.
That's all.
That's all. Okay. We can move on to Mr. Wright, manager's report, please.
All right, thank you. I've had some questions on my report, so I wanted to make it, very clear. The April financials and the May finance packet on page 5, to kind of dovetail with Mr. Doyle, our treasurer, the improved collection efforts by the association has reduced our 120-day accounts past due category by 9.2% compared to last April. Page 11, the balance sheet shows current vacation accrual liability of $102,711. We did a pre-audit of this balance sheet item, and it shows a reduction of $44,000 going into June. The reduction of this line item is relevant as it ties to the savings in wages for all departments. Page 13, the consolidated income statement through April shows us below forecast in revenue of $173,000, 424. So it's just shy of 174,000. And expenses better than forecast by $327,000. April month end shows the association better than forecast, better than budget by $154,000. The operating units at the club have been running very lean based on business levels. As of today, in the county of Riverside, we are operating on an accelerated phase 2 of opening retail operations. June 1st, guest play will begin on the golf course. May 27th, dine-in at the club was approved to open, and live music is back on Saturday nights. The county mandates have constricted the club and its ability to generate revenue. However, the accelerated phase 2 does make it possible to start generating income again. Please remember, and please, we still are on restrictions on 2 key revenue centers that are unable to be open as of today, the bar and the Mission Lakes Inn. So we look forward to the county giving us the green light to open these amenities at the club. The dining room at the club does serve alcoholic drinks, and for now, food orders must be placed with your server to order an alcoholic beverage. Please plan on making reservations for the dining room if you choose to come up to the club Thursday through Saturday from 3 to 8. The dining room does have reduced capacity with compliance to the dine-in restrictions from the county. I've seen a lot of emails from the members. Diane's actually had some, so I wanted to go over a quick kind of snapshot of what you can do and what's open here for food and beverage. The Sandwedge is open 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, and they do take member charge, credit card, and cash in the Sandwedge. The golf course beverage cart, we're trying it for a little bit longer. There's been so much demand for it. We've changed the business hours. We're selling breakfast burritos. So it's running from 7 a.m. to 12 o'clock, and that's only Friday through Sunday for weekends when we have heavy play here. And that's member charge only on the beverage cart due to cash restrictions driving around on the course. The San Jacinto restaurant, it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, Thursday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Reservations required 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. Please remember, after golf, it's open seating. We have room for 56 people up in the restaurant. There hasn't been a whole bunch of golfers coming up or people coming over. That's open seating from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. My staff wanted to make sure everybody knows the Mission Lake staff appreciates and thanks the membership for their patience through these trying times. We've had some interesting situations both in the golf shop and the restaurant regarding tea times and food orders. So we do appreciate your patience as we try to navigate these restrictions from the county. Thank you.
Brian, because you need to kind of make this clear, that open seating from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. still is a maximum of 4 persons per table.
Good point. So that is important. We can have those people in the restaurant, but it's groups of 4 only.
And they have to order food with cocktails.
Right. We did have an issue to clear it up for everybody too. If you just come to the restaurant and order or have a water or a Coke and you ask the server for some popcorn, we'll be happy to give you that. Popcorn isn't on our menu, so it doesn't qualify for an order for alcohol, just so everybody can kind of maintain that. We've had members ordering onion rings and splitting them, and that qualifies as a food order, and we're fine with that. But if you just want to come up to the club and have a Coke and enjoy the cool air and watch the TV, we can definitely do that, and please request some popcorn.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. We're going to move on to committee reports, and first up is Architectural Control. Mr. Stalker, what do you have for us?
Committee Chair Hall Daly did turn in an email that I would really like to read because everybody, including all the members, need to kind of know this about the ACC. So the Architectural Control Committee, ACC, hasn't met since early March, but its volunteer members have continued to shoulder their monitoring responsibilities on an uninterrupted basis. At present, there are 64 architectural and landscaping violations on the May report list. Although more extensions have been granted during the height of the lockdown than usual, A huge majority of MLCC members have been constructively responsive to warning and violation notices from the club. The committee members appreciate their neighbors' pride of ownership during a difficult time. 2 temporary exemptions have been granted to households with active first responders who use the oversized vehicles for showering before entering their homes after work. 2 additional temporary exceptions have been made for elderly residents who have been housebound for health reasons since late March. Warnings have continued for violations on the county's 72-hour rule against parking large vehicles in a residential zone area. If the ACC is able to meet safely and as scheduled at 1:30 on June 8th, the club will announce the conditions of the meeting. Paul Daly, ACC Chair.
Any other input necessary? Anything else, Tom?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. On to condominium association. There's no report, but recently White Star Management and the board of directors there had a meeting, and I saw some releases on that, and there was a couple of statements made about renters being able to use our pool if they had a guest pass, and that's not the case. If a renter is going to use our pool, first off, they have to be registered with our office. And secondly, they need a renter's card, which can be purchased here either by them or by the unit owner. But you can't just come up on a guest pass that you get for a week or 2 weeks and use our facilities. I guess they plan on opening up their pool on July 1st. They're waiting because they are concerned with some insurance issues, which I, for the life of me, can't imagine what those are. But that's kind of the gist on that. So I've asked Brian to kind of keep an eye on those people that may try to use it when they're not authorized to do so. There is no declaration report, so on to Mr. Doyle for finance.
Thank you, Eddie. First, I move that we approve checks over $1,000 from the operation and reserve accounts for April 2020.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Next, I move that we approve the finance and credit reports for April 2020.
I'll second.
Any further discussion necessary? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Next, I move that we consider RFCA 2020-15 from golf course maintenance in the amount of $20,673, not to exceed, from the reserve for replacement of an irrigation clock. The vendor is High Tech Irrigation.
Have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this one?
Yes,
Yeah.
do we know when when this was on the reserve calendar to be replaced
Yearly.
annually?
Okay. My question, is it broken?
It doesn't have anything to do with that. The irrigation, when we put the irrigation in, the club did not purchase any clocks, so we decided to do them yearly, and that's
Right.
his yearly spend on replacing the clocks that are.
So if it's not broken, we could probably skip this year because of the situation we're in?
No, the irrigation clocks, he struggles with them because you have 2 different technologies that doesn't blend with his system. So it's important we stay up with these because we never replaced them when we did the irrigation system to begin with.
The
I would
strategy's been
think
in
if
place
it's
for a
working
while.
right now and it's not broken, I think we need to think about all the spending that we're doing.
Okay.
I mean, if you look this month and add up all these RFCA's, they come up to $200,000. And so far in 2020, we've spent $260,000 out of reserve. That's up to $450,000 out of reserve already. And we haven't done hardly anything yet. So I think we really need to think about spending this money on something that's not broken.
Well, let's go back to what the Greens Committee had talked about months, maybe a year ago, on these irrigation clocks, and agreed that a schedule should be put in place to do these so that everything works correctly and we are able to keep irrigating our course.
Yeah, and I agree, because we've done this. This is about the 4th or 5th year.
Yeah, 4th or 5th one, that's
So
correct.
if we skip this year, would it really matter a lot?
Probably so, yes. But I don't know if it's just this year, we approve, what do we approve? Is it once annually or once every?
Once annually.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a plan that we've had in place for a while now.
And I understand, but with the virus thing going on and the money that we're not bringing in, I just don't think it's a good idea. If it's not broken, to have to replace it, and it's already working.
Can I, just as a potential, if we can get Raphael to either provide us with status on it, or whatever, or some kind of information, so we can have a discussion about it, a more intelligent discussion, if it is working at the moment, but, you know, gosh, it's, you know, on the edge, we need to be careful with it, then we say, okay, Raphael's, kind of explain where we're at. If it does not, if he says, no, it's working perfectly, then maybe we can put it off for 6 months.
So I agree with that. So he did request it because he does need them. His clocks last year, we had an owner in their golf course destroy the irrigation clock on number 1. We've
Remember
since
that?
put concrete posts in there.
Yep.
So the schedule of getting the clocks done for last year's allocation was one short because it had to go to the damage that nobody said that they did. So that we were short last year, and that's why he needs to get them. But I will tell him that if he does not need them, you know, for next year to look at those closely, but this is an annual spend on something that we should have done when the irrigation project was done the first time.
And
And I'm reminded, if I can say, I'm reminded of, you know, arguments that go on with this kind of stuff with, you know, an analogy I think sometimes makes sense is if you look at your car, you're driving your car, and if you've got 4 bald tires on it,
Needs to be
you
replaced.
can keep driving your, well, why do you need to replace them? They're still
Because they're
working.
both.
No, Rick, they're still working. They're in perfectly good condition. You can drive down to the grocery store.
I'm intelligent enough to know that I shouldn't be driving on 4 bald
Okay,
tires.
we have a golf course manager that says we have irrigation clocks that should be replaced on a regular schedule to protect the golf course. Why don't you drive your car until the tires blow out one at a time and then change them when it blows out? You do preventative maintenance.
You're being argumentative for no purpose.
Hold on a
Simply
second.
saying that to Tom's point, for more information that many of us here do not have, is it gonna hurt to have Raphael address it? If Brian is saying that Raphael has addressed it, and due to whatever happened last year, and I do remember that one getting taken out,
Yeah, that
then,
one.
okay, now we have some more information, so, that's all.
Ray, how do you feel?
Look, this is something that we have set aside that we do every year, that we need to do to make sure that our course is kept upright. I don't see putting off a $20,000 reserve, which I know it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme, that golf course is worth a lot of money, and we need to take care of it. We need to make sure that it doesn't do damage out there that we need to replace later. So waiting 6 months to, say we got 6 more months out of it, and then having to pay it then, and possibly having damage on the course, this doesn't seem like it's worthwhile. I understand why people have questions on this and have questions on the landscape. Do we really need to do that type of stuff? I mean, those are good questions to ask, but with this seems like maintenance that we need to do. We can save money elsewhere if you really have to save money. But,
Okay. Trish?
How many irrigation clocks are there?
I have that in an email. I don't know that number off. It's a large number. I mean, it saved the project $200,000. I think it's around 40 or so.
Oh, okay, because 6 times 8, I have that, but I couldn't decipher. So every year, it's the whole system that's being taken
One
care
clock
of.
at a time.
One clock at a time, okay.
Well, this is an upgrade, right?
Well, no, the ones we're putting in are the same that match with our system. We're not doing any upgrades. They're just a newer clock.
So it's an upgraded clock.
What's the
It's a new clock.
New clock. That works with our technology, with our watering system.
And the other one is working right now.
Well, there's more than one. They're all over the course.
Okay, so any further discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of approving RFCA 2020-15, please signify.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Please note that. Tom, oppose this one, please.
Next item is RFCA 2020-16 from Golf Course Maintenance in the amount of $34,951 not to exceed from reserve for a precision cut and trim and surround mower. The vendor is Stoltz Equipment for John Deere equipment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion necessary on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next, I move that we consider RCA 2020-17 from Golf Course Maintenance in the amount of $14,869 not to exceed from the reserve for 2 Lely L2010 spreaders. The vendor is Stoltz Equipment for John Deere products.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion necessary?
Is this on the reserve list?
It is, to be replaced this year.
This year.
The Lely spreaders, actually, we had to move them forward to this year. It was due to be replaced a couple years down the line. The problem that Raphael's having is it's $1,800 to get it fixed with the little calibrations, and it's not worth it to keep spending $1,800.
Any further discussion necessary? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Next, RFCA 2020-18 was previously approved by the board in an emergency session. This, for information only, was a request from Golf Course Maintenance of not to exceed $10,000 from the reserve for sod, and the vendor is West Coast Turf. There was an issue with the timing on that, making sure that Raphael had the proper materials in to maintain the course during the gear up for the summer,
Transition, yeah.
the transition period.
Okay, I think we can go on to the next RFCA.
Next up, RFCA, again, information only for the members, RFCA 2020-19, again, it was approved by the board in the emergency session April 30th, was amount of $22,458 from the reserve to repair pump number 2. The butterfly valves and mechanical seals were going out on that. It was critical to get the pump repaired immediately so we could water the course. Vendor was Eagle Pump Services.
Okay, we can go on to the next one, Michael.
Next one is consider RCA 2020-20 from Golf Course Maintenance, the amount of $44,600 not to exceed from the reserve for desert landscaping in the space by the dumpster area north of the wash. The vendor is Blue Wadi Landscape. I'd like to make one other comment as when we look at this, when there was something that just recently came in from one of the committees that said, oh gee, we had a bid from another vendor that was, $10,000 less than this, and why wasn't that considered? The bid that she put forward was a bid from 2016 from a company that is not actively involved in landscape work anymore. So had we done it in 2016, instead of pushing it off, we might have been able to do it quicker or a little less expensively. But the current bid is a good bid. We secured a number of bids for that project, and this was the low bidder and one qualified to do the work.
Okay, let's hold on because we're going to need a second. Need a second for this RFCA.
I'll second it for discussion.
Now we can open up for discussion. Kind of hit the gun there a little bit. Go ahead, Tom.
Again, if it's not broken, I don't think we should be spending money. You said it was 2016 when it started, so it's already been like that for 3 years. I just can't see another year hurting anything.
Okay, the 2016 was a different place. I mean, that was a different area. I mean, this is for one side of that wash, and the 2016 bid was for the other side of the wash next thing. So that's apples and oranges type of comparison for the amount of money. But, I mean, the point was, I think, was why didn't we get a bid from that company who was making bids back then? Brian's explained that they don't do that now, or they're not into that type of work right now. Okay. So the question is, though, is can we put that off? And I kind of agree with Tom on that one. We could put that area off. I mean, that's not, there's nothing critical about having to redo the area around the dumpsters, except that it doesn't look good. And we'd like it to look better someday. Doesn't have to now, though.
Rick?
So the folks that we're talking about are Agave Landscape that did that section behind number 8, and they did a very nice job on it. It looks great. I would love to have them do that area on the street side of the dumpster, but I asked at the time that this came through the Finance Committee, why didn't we have some that included the south side of the dumpster towards the parking lot and the batting cage, and was told, well, the House Committee didn't think about that. So I don't know why we keep doing things piecemeal. It makes things more expensive. So I would say, I'm not in favor of doing this now. I would certainly have no problem putting it off until next year when things have settled down, and would certainly like to see a bid for both sides of that wash area there, so we can, gonna make it look nice all at once.
Trish?
I agree with Rick. I don't think we need to do it right now, and I would, there were some issues with number 8, especially with the weeds coming up, whether they put, so I'd like to review the bid again to see if it covers that weeping area. So we either table it or just leave it.
Well, I guess we could do either one, but we have a motion,
And a second.
second for this, so we're gonna have to vote on it. Either we're gonna approve it or we're gonna not approve it. So we've had discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor of proceeding with this RFCA, please signify.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion is declined. You can note the vote, Trish.
We
That
tabled
one.
for further.
Table then for further use.
Okay, next item to consider is RFCA 2020-21 from Golf Course Maintenance in the amount of $41,855 not to exceed from the reserve for desert landscaping of the area down by hole 19, an area approximately 20 feet north of the fence on Mission Lakes Boulevard, about 550 feet long, to get the water and grass away from the metal fence that we have in there. And this would put in desertscape comparable to the other stuff we've done around the club.
Okay, do we have a second?
Well,
Second.
Well, second, okay.
Okay, now we can open for discussion.
I think it's important to note that RFCA 2020-21 is also connected directly to RFCA 2020-23.
Correct.
So I think that needs to be explained to the membership. The 2023 has to do with replacement of the wrought iron fence that runs along Mission Lakes Boulevard at the end of Boyers Lake. That has rotted out from moisture and is in need of replacement. What the other RFCA is about, 20-21, is to cut back the grass area away from the existing location of the fence and replacing that with desertscape similar to what we have on number 8, so that there isn't water constantly hitting that wrought iron metal fence, thus rotting it out quicker than it would normally. So I think the whole point here is to spend a little more now in order to save expenses down the road.
Tom, any comments?
We don't have the fence up there yet, right?
No, we don't. That's, as Rick
So-
said, the two are together.
Again, I don't know why we couldn't wait to do the landscaping next year.
Okay. Ray?
I don't see this as just landscaping. I see this as protection of our property over there.
It is.
Making sure that we secure the perimeter of our golf course with the fence, and make sure that that fence doesn't rot out with that. So I don't see this as like, it's an eyesore and I don't like the way it looks. I see it as protecting our asset, and I think that's probably, I think that's why it's different.
Well,
That's the way I see it,
Okay.
different.
How long has that fence been up there?
Since, I don't know, it's been,
About 2000 or so?
20 years
I think it was
ago.
replaced about
15, 20 years?
Yeah.
It took to get that rotted out?
no, it's been bad for a long time. We've just
Well,
kind
it
of
came
masked
up
it
last
down.
year at the Green Committee to fix it, right?
Yeah, but it was
After the flood.
bad for a while. But Trish, any comments on this?
No, I have no comment.
Michael?
No, I think that,
Just wanna add?
I agree with Ray that this is different than the other one. Financially, the club is in a very sound and healthy position. And I think that we need to just be concerned about saying, we can't spend money now because of COVID-19. We can't spend money now and ignore some of the projects we need to do. I think that, we just need to evaluate each one as it goes. So
Yeah.
that would be my comment.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote. So all in favor of approving RFCA 2021, please signify.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Okay. Please note that, Trish.
Next, I move we consider RFCA 2020-22 from golf course maintenance in the amount of $10,000 not to exceed from the reserve for replacement bunker sand. The vendor is West Coast Sand and Gravel.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion necessary? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, thank you. Motion carries.
Next, I move that we consider RFCA 2020-23 from golf course maintenance in the amount of $28,740 not to exceed from the reserve for the installation of a replacement metal fence on the border of Hole 19 and Mission Lakes Boulevard. The vendor is Sam's Fence.
Have a second?
No second.
Tom, any discussion necessary? We pretty well covered it in the previous RFCA. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, I think that takes care of you, Michael. Future planning, I don't think we have any report, do we, Rick?
No report.
Thank you. Tom, golf committee?
Golf committee, yes, had an email from Shelley Daly, and I will read her report. Now that our course is back up and running, the golf committee has calendared summer tournaments. June 13th is an MGA WGA Par 3 tournament. The Pro Shop will create foursomes for this fun event. Please sign up on Chelsea no later than noon, June 9th. The MGA has already begun their Wednesday game formats, and the WGA will begin this Tuesday, June 1st, with Ace of the Month. Again, if you wish to play in the games, please sign up on Chelsea under event request. The calendar of golf events as well as other MLCC events meetings is available online. A MLCC golf event is scheduled for July 4th, our flag tournament. Create your own foursome and try and beat your handicap. Please remember to sand and seed your divots and park the carts away from the greens and the bunkers surrounding the greens. It is our course. It is up to us, the caretakers, to keep this gem in the desert that Raphael and his crew have managed in pristine condition. Any questions, direct them to Shelley Daly or George Azevedo, tournament chairs.
Okay, anything further? Thank you very much for that report. Michael, Green
No,
Committee.
nothing to report there.
House Committee, in Tom's absence. Who's got that? You, Tom?
What, House? I've heard nothing.
Okay, thank you. Member Communications, Trish?
Nothing.
Neighborhood Watch, same?
I will say that Larry Carview said that mainly garage doors opened, but nothing of anything significant.
Our membership is behaving themselves.
Yeah.
Good. Pool and Recreation.
Maybe Brian could give us an update.
Yeah, so the pool amenity is open. It was for member use only. We recently opened it up to members and their guests and house guest cards and renter cards. We've had a couple of questions about why it's still closing at 8 o'clock. With the inn amenities still closed and we're still in this phase 2, right now we're just trying to be super safe on the biggest liability at Mission Lakes Country Club, which is that pool. We have a lifeguard on duty from 12 to 8 when it's the busiest every day to ensure that the owners and guests are being safe and we don't have any issues out there. As soon as we get further notice from the county that we can open up the inn, we can definitely look at increasing those amenity hours.
Okay.
Do we have any update on the ADA bathrooms?
That project, we're still doing the behind the scenes work of getting the engineer to work with the architect. I did get a phone call, but their office was closed due to a vacation, so I guess I'll get a call back from Craig when they get back.
Okay, on to old business. Bylaws and CCNRs. As I said at the opening of the session, we have our ballots in this box, and in a few moments, we're going to take a break and we're going to have the inspection committee come in here and count these ballots to get us the results for this bylaw. So we should know today.
I have a question. Since we just got through the committee reports, do we want to speak about committee meetings for June?
Yes, we probably should do that.
It's under other happenings, or
Okay.
we can do it now.
Well, as long as we're here still at this end, let's do it now. And there's been some talk about canceling the committee meetings for June, with the exception of the finance committee. And so I'd like to hear your opinions as we go around the room. So, Rick?
I think it's all dependent on whether or not they loosen their restrictions on how many people can be in a room. And I don't know if we need to make that decision today, but.
Tom?
I think we should have the committee meetings for committee members only. We're meeting, and I'm not so sure how much more important this meeting is than the committee meetings.
Just to qualify that, the council being an essential worker for an HOA does apply to the board because this is a self-managed club. So you guys are essential workers to run Mission Lakes Country Club. A committee's not. So those are that's just the law on essential workers.
We did have a ruling from our legal counsel on that suggests that anything that we really do should be via electronic, such as Zoom, which we did for our finance meeting. So, Ray?
I'd like to see us Zoom the meetings for a month and have the chair come down here, have Brian in here in this room, Zoom out of this room with the members out there. I know we may have some members that aren't available to, or don't have access to something that will Zoom, but I actually probably think that that's a pretty small number if there really is. And if we do have like that one person, maybe we can make some sort of arrangements for them to be here.
Okay, Michael?
I think that the more we can do to keep the members involved is good. I agree with Ray. The Zoom meeting we ran with Finance Committee last time, and there were a couple of hiccups just because it's a technology that we're getting familiar with. But I think having Zoom meetings is a viable alternative to having people in person.
Trish?
I agree. I think we're losing sight of some of the things that we should have been doing, and that was the maintenance building that still doesn't have a roof down there. You need the green committee that would have input on that. So I don't know. We have 5 members for the member communications. We could come here as voting members. So I think, I don't know if we should go on that.
Well, and there's one other consideration is, does every committee want to have a meeting? That's the other thing.
Okay. You guys know I'm a big advocate of the committee process, and I think because we're a self-managed club, we have like I've said before, we have between 100 and 115 members that help us manage this organization, and I think they've done a good job. And I think, going through the Zoom meeting with the Finance Committee worked pretty well. We've heard that there were a couple of hiccups, but it works. So given that as an alternative, until we can all meet in person, like Rick was saying, I think we should proceed with doing meetings electronically for the month of June and see how it goes. Maybe sometime in the middle of June I'll be able to change that, but it works for us. So if someone would like to make a motion for that, we can move this on forward.
I move that we allow for committee meetings via electronic means for the month of June.
Second.
Any further discussion needed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a committee process, Trish. Zoom it. Okay, back to old business. I did mention that we're going to have the counting of the ballots in here when we momentarily suspend our operations for them to come in. Under new business, the 2020 elections and the candidate form are kind of tied together. And what the Inspector of Elections has asked is that we're preparing 2 scenarios. One, should something happen from the governor that allows us to have socialization and have a certain number of people in a room on June 13th and or June 20th, because she set aside those 2 dates with the possibility in mind that we could have membership in our room, that we would do it in person. If that does not happen, and we get down to close to those dates, then we're going to electronically have the candidates present what they have, and questions will be asked by the Inspector of Elections. We will go through that process one at a time. All of the candidates will be up here in the clubhouse and spaced out without cell phones and with other persons present, so that they won't know what those questions are. And we can probably get through that in a couple of hours if it comes down to that. So that's kind of where we are right now. And the candidate forum is, as I've said, is scheduled tentatively for June 13th. Okay, Trish, back to you, I guess.
Food and beverage happenings, I don't have anything to report, but I think our food and beverage department has been really good about sending out the e-blast and letting people, members, know what's going on and what to order and what's available. The other happenings, the Ladies Luncheon League will not be meeting in June, but Melissa, Teresa, and Paula from the scholarship committee for the Ladies Luncheon League were able to give 5 scholarships to Desert Hot Springs seniors. And we're going to try to put that on e-news, the video of them acknowledging the 5 students.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the high school did a whole video for their awards night in which they, everybody submitted these videos, which are about a minute long. And so they were part of all that. Really, it's really a nice little video. In fact, I think it's on one of the
It is.
MOCC member side or something like that. It was, there's some really good kids. They got scholarships. I mean, they're pretty impressive. They're,
That's good to hear.
yeah,
It
they're
is.
pretty good.
Anything else, Trish?
No, I do not have a lien delinquent list.
None for this month.
No.
I would like to, just going back to the food and beverage happenings, and I do have a question regarding entertainment. That's $300 expense. We are limited to 14 tables and 56 customers or members to come in and eat. We're running at 43% cost of food. We'll have 3 servers, I believe you said, 3 servers and 3 people in the kitchen. I mean, by the time all is said and done, we'll be lucky to break even on the food itself, and now we're paying $300 for music, and we can't have any dancing. I'm wondering why we would waste that money on, music for when we're so restricted as far as the restaurant is concerned.
Sure. So with the shelter-in-place order hitting, early March, we just want to introduce that the club is back open for business. This isn't probably going to be an all-summer thing unless we can open up back to normal with dancing and all that. But we thought that to elicit some response from the owners that have been cooped up in the homes to come up to their club and kind of see the new restrictions that are in place, there could be some live music as opposed to the canned music. So it's an introductory thing to start with. We were fortunate enough to have an entertainer that could come up. It's Michael McCormick. He takes a very small portion of the dining
Space,
room up.
yeah, I understand
He's
that.
a one person, he's got his own, and just to give the members some, hope, because we've got a lot of people that have been really frustrated staying at home and they want to go out and use the club, and it is a lot of money, and we just hope the members come up and use their club. I mean, if we had 54 members up tonight, it would definitely pay for the entertainment. So we'd like to keep that entertainment going, so we need people to use the club on Saturdays. But it's not something that will go forever if these restrictions remain the same.
I think it's an expense that we don't need to start with. It's an expense that we should consider adding down the road once we find out that people are coming up. But, it's cart before the horse.
Any further comments necessary on this? Okay, barring that, then I guess we don't have anything else at this point. You said we have no lien delinquent. So, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So at this point, what I'd like to do, Brian, so that this box stays right there, would you please go and get our Inspector of Elections and her crew? When they get here to the door, we will leave the room and let them count the ballots on live stream, and then when the results are done, we will come back and report those results.
Absolutely.
They will be given to Trish and subsequently to me. We'll finish this process up. So how many did you say were able to attend our live stream that you count?
I think it was.
Good morning,
30.
Ms. Julianne.
Ms. Julie,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I made a copy of that, so this can go in the ballot box. All of these items should be held.
Yeah,
Anybody
we'll
wants to- Yeah.
put
Everything.
that in there.
Yeah.
Lock it back
Lock
up.
it up.
Well,
Hey, thank you
I'm
so
taking my lock
much.
home. All right, you guys, thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Julianne.
Julie.
Okay, to our board of directors and to our members of Mission Lakes out there watching this live feed, we have the tally sheet and the count for our bylaw governing document election. The total no votes were 108, and the total yes votes were 346. Our measure passes. We had a total of 454 ballots cast on this election. And so I'd just like to again thank Juliana Dawson from her election committee for doing all this, because it's a arduous process to go through this correctly. And she did that for us. And I think also like to thank you guys, because we went through a lot in getting this ballot measure done, getting those governing documents worked on for months and months on end. So I'm very happy with that. Now we can move our club along. So I think with that, unless there's any other comments you'd like to make, we can adjourn this meeting. Great. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
You can hit the off button.